if you have osteoarthritis, you may have been told by your doctor it's because of inflammation and you just need to lose weight and keep exercising. But what does that really mean? What is actually going on in our joints? What is osteoarthritis and what is inflammation? This video is going to tell you all about it. So it has been proven that osteoarthritis is way more than just a wear and tear diagnosis. It's actually a chemical process. And so it starts with some inflammation. Inflammation is initially a process that our body uses to heal an infection or to heal an injury. So if you sprain your ankle, it becomes inflamed, so it protects you from further injury. But osteoarthritis and chronic joint pain is a consequence of chronic inflammation. Whereas inflammation doesn't go away. Our body keeps perceiving that it's being attacked, so we start to have that and continue to have the inflammation when really it's not. And so this inflammation can also be affected by other things. And so I want to show you in this graphic below. So this is your knee joint, or you can replace it with any joint that is affected in the middle. And then we see all of these fighting guys around it. I want to illustrate that osteoarthritis is a complex diagnosis. There's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of times we try to make it very black and white with the wear and tear theory. But here, this diagram below is going to show us that there's lots that goes into impacting that inflammation aside from just poor eating. So looking here, these 6 to 7 things around this joint all are impacting our cartilage. And so what is happening is each one of these activities is affecting some sort of inflammatory response. And what happens is, say for example, we take leptin. So leptin is actually a hormone that is stored and made in our fatty tissues and then is transported into the bloodstream. It goes up to our brain. It triggers us to overeat, and it triggers us to do a lot of other things. So the more fat tissue we have, the more leptin we have. Leptin can actually attach to a receptor on an inflammatory cell and trigger a response that is not going to be good for our joints. It's going to come in, irritate our joints, irritate our cartilage, and make it weaker. So this is just one example of a pathway. Like I said, there are multiple pathways and multiple contributors to these different receptors and different pathways. So different things are going to impact inflammation a little bit differently, some more severe than others. But what I wanted to highlight here is, first off, that there's lots of contributors. So obesity is one of them, not necessarily because of the mechanical load you're putting on your joint, but it triggers other chemical processes. And so the more leptin we have, also adipose tissue or fat tissue holds a lot more inflammatory cells. Those inflammatory cells then come out and wreak havoc. So that obesity is a big one. And then another big one worth pointing out is inactivity, which we know that exercise is good for arthritis, and I guarantee you probably have been told that before. But do you know why? Inactivity and inadequate loading. So we're going to take the knee, for example. So inadequate loading, meaning you don't stand as much, you don't walk as much, you start to limit your activity. And what that does is that actually makes our cartilage weaker. If you think of our cartilage as a sponge, every time you walk, it's going to push down. Imagine there's water in it. It's going to squeeze out some of that water, but then when you release pressure from that, it's going to open up and allow all of those nutrients and things to come back in. Now, if you're sitting, laying, even standing just in one position for a long period of time, you have that pressure, but you're not opening it back up. So those nutrients aren't getting in there. And then when you leave a sponge kind of sitting out, so if you're sitting or laying down, the cartilage just isn't really moving at all. And if you leave a sponge sitting out, it becomes very brittle and starts to break down, becomes very small and weak. It's very easily broken. And think of that as your cartilage. And so when we're not moving, when we're not exercising, when we're not up and getting around, that cartilage becomes dry, weak, brittle, and so this can play a huge impact in our cartilage health. But I want to make this into a little bit of a game because I want you to realize that there are things that we can do in order to help this. And so if we take this same image, but we give our joints a little bit of power, and we can give our joints a little bit of power here. So evidenced by these boxing gloves. So exercise is going to help. Exercise and weight loss are going to give us big boxing gloves, because these boxing gloves are then going to start fighting off some of these inflammatory pathways. Now, like everything else, some effects are going to be more pronounced and some are going to be a little less. But if you look at exercise and weight loss, these both can have huge impacts. You can decrease that leptin, you can decrease other inflammatory cells, and you can improve your activity level. These are all going to decrease pain. So the more boxing gloves we can collect, I also put a couple more examples here. The more boxing gloves we can collect, the better our joints will feel. The stronger we can make our cartilage. We can't necessarily regenerate cartilage, but you can make it stronger. Exercise and adequate loading, so adequate loading meaning strength training, whatever is intense for you to build muscle, can help improve the matrix of your cartilage, so it can make it stronger. So it takes what you have and makes that a little bit stronger. So that way it can withstand more pressure and you can have less pain. So I want you to think about your arthritis this way. Instead of just thinking, I need to lose weight, I need to exercise just because you were told that, think of it this way. Think about collecting boxing gloves. Now, the thing about collecting these boxing gloves is you have to be able to consistently do these things. Exercising for 1 week or changing your eating habits for 1 week may make a little bit of an impact, but most of these studies, in order to make a serious impact, you're looking at about 12-ish months. You at least want to shoot for 6 months, but that 12-month mark, even up to 15 months, can really truly make a difference. And at that point, if you have done something for 12 months, it's likely that you can do it for the rest of your life. Because most of these fad diets and fad exercise routines, you do them for about a month and then you kind of give up because they're hard to sustain. We need to find something you can do in the long run, because like I said, if you do something for about 12 months, then the odds of you being able to keep carrying that out are very, very high. And this is what we want. So I want you to think about, look at this image and see where you can start making some changes. If you're serious about exercise or movement or weight loss, go ahead and send me an email at alyssa@keeptheadventurealive.com so we can get a personalized plan for you. Check out my other videos on exercise and weight loss to truly make an impact on your arthritis pain. What I want you to get out of this is there are things you can do about it. There are some things that we can't really control, such as genetics, and that's okay. And genetics was just one guy out of the 6 or 7. So if we can change that 6 to 7, we can dramatically decrease the severity of our pain. This has been very, very highly researched, and it's definitely proven that lifestyle changes can make a huge impact. But what I want you to get out of this video is there is something you can do about it. And there is hope for your arthritis pain. So if you take away anything from this video, I want you to pick 1 or 2 of these things that maybe you're lacking in. Maybe you've gained a few extra pounds. Maybe your cholesterol has gotten high. Maybe you have eaten a lot of highly processed, high glycemic index foods. Then these are some things where you can start. Don't try to tackle them all at once. And go ahead, and if you need a place to start out for exercise or movement that isn't going to flare up your pain, go ahead and check out some of my other videos. Thanks so much for watching.